made it through news and rumors. Let's pound through why we're here, gentlemen. Okay, we did an episode a little while back with the chief referee from the NWA, friend of the show and network, Jared Fritz, where we discussed our Mount Rushmore of referees inside the business. Everybody does their Mount Rushmores. We've done plenty of ours, specific titles, different territories, who we thought were great. But tonight specifically, we're talking about a piece of this puzzle that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and that's ring announcers and commentators. The ticker on the bottom of the screen says ring announcers and commentators are people too, damn it, because they are. I want to start this conversation, though, with the ring announcers. When you think about what a ring announcer does in a pro wrestling show and a pro wrestling story, they're literally the public announcer that carries the energy level for the show from beginning to end. Ted, I'm going to lead off with you before we start getting into our lists. How important is a good ring announcer for a live wrestling show?
Oh, it's very important because not only do they, the way they announce them coming in, if you've ever, when you go to a live event, before the show starts, they're out trying to get the crowd going and different things like that. So ring announcer can be very important. And also, I think, I don't know how much they do nowadays, but I'll just throw this in there. Tony Schiavone used to do some ring announcing on the some of the house shows and different things back in the old days of Crockett and early WCW. And he was asked, about the weights and the heights. And he said most of them he knew the heights, but a lot of time the weights he just made up. So, even the ring announcers are kayfabing it sometimes. So I love it.
Bo, same question to you, man. You've been to a lot of live wrestling, but especially recently, everything from NXT to indie shows, man. What do you think a good ring announcer brings to the table?
I've grown leaps and bounds of the ring announcers. There used to just be people in the ring that were background noise. But once you go to these live shows like Raw and during commercial break, it's when the woman probably mentioned it early, but it's Samantha Urban keeping 5,000-6,000 people energetic and happy and like keeping them intrigued during these commercial breaks where there's nothing going on. There's no matches. She pumps the crowd up. So I think it's real important to have a good ring announcer. Does add to the whole feel of the show.
Katie says Samantha Irwin is top fucking tier. I'm sure she's on everybody's list when we get there. Al, having watched wrestling the least amount of time of the four of us, but having seen a ton of indie wrestling, this is a loaded question for you now. How important and what difference does a really good ring announcer make from a really terrible ring announcer?
So I've seen some really terrible indie ring announcers. I'm not going to name names. But it makes a huge difference. Especially like if they're not into it, like if they're just there because they're there or because they're a ring rat, then, you feel it. Like they don't give the crowd energy. Like the ring announcer is there to give that energy to the crowd to make you hyped for the match that's about to come up. If you're not doing that, then it just ruins everything. Like they are as important, if not more important, to a match.
We've got some lists coming in from the chat. So what I want to do is I put together a list of 4 names that I felt like were my 4 favorites when I put this list together. Ted, I'm not sure how many you have. And Bo, I know you have quite a big list. So what I'm going to do is, Ted, I'm going to let you lead off. Kind of just knock out your list and some of your favorites and why they're your favorites, I guess is the best way to do this real quick. We'll go around the board, then we'll shift into the commentators and kind of talk about the commentators some.
Hold on a second. I lost you. Okay. Probably you've got to go with Finkel. as a ring announcer. Because he was a legend in WWF. Then for WCW, I thought one of the biggest things that Eric Bischoff did was to get Michael Buffer, because, everybody knew him from the boxing world, and, he'd been in commercials and other things. And then, you've got some others here and there. Like I said, Samantha Irwin nowadays is a recent one. I think she is great, and we're going to probably be remembering her down the line. And I know some people do not like him, but I just do, because I love the way he used to say Kenny Omega from North Carolina, because that's where I'm from. And during the intermissions and different things before the show, I do like Justin Roberts. So there, that's my unpopular opinion.
You and I shared a couple on the same list. Bo, I'm going to let you go into yours now.
He knocked out half my list, by the way. But I came prepared because I talked about him today. The voice of WCW, David Pinzer.
Yeah, Pinzer's another one.
He was on AJ's list.
I got to go Lillian Garcia because that's the one I grew up with. Honorable mention, Vince McMahon.
Ooh.
Might be a little spicy there. Then I had like Howard Finkel and Justin. I like Justin Roberts. I like the way he adds a little bit of a spice to everyone he announces, kind of like Samantha Urban does. Samantha was on there. Howard Finkel was on there. That, like, I really didn't have that big of a list.
That's what I was thinking too. I thought ring announcers were going to be kind of the shorter side of this list, because as we get into commentators, there's been such a laundry list of commentators to do it. My list, where it was very generational based on my life, it was Howard Finkel, then it went into Lillian Garcia, Samantha Irvine, and then I also had Justin Roberts. So that's 3 out of 4 of us so far that have picked him. The Dapper Yapper, one thing that I like about him is his work rate, man. He's done all the major AEW pay-per-views. He's done a WrestleMania and a lot of the major WWE pay-per-views. He's done the Super Indies, your PWGs, and your Limitless, and all of your Super Indies. Like, Justin Roberts has a ridiculous work rate for a ring announcer, so I applaud that as somebody who strives to make towns on the Indies. Like, that dude put in the fucking work to get where he is, so I applaud Justin Roberts. Samantha is the voice of a goddess, and I think she's what WWE has been missing since Lillian Garcia left. And then when you think about the Fink, he's just the go-to guy. He's everybody's like, and new WWE. Like, that was just the voice of WWE for so long. Al, that wraps around to you. Who you got on your list?
So my list is going to be some newer people. Samantha is my number 1. I would put the Dapper Yapper as number 2. My number 3 is Kyle Davis from the NWA.
I love Kyle.
Love Kyle.
Of
He's
course.
so great at like hyping up a crowd. And then this is an old one, and like as a child I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling, but like I saw the commercials and stuff. So I could be wrong in that this person wasn't a ring announcer, they were just a commentator. But this is just because this was the only bits I was able to see. But like Mean Gene.
Yeah, Mean Gene Okerlund did some ring announcing and stuff. He was a big commentator, but I mean, he was definitely a voice in WCW.
I just remember him. Okay, this is going to sound really fucking stupid. He did the commercials for the Wrestle Buddies, and I wanted one so bad as a kid, and I couldn't have one. And so, like, in my mind, like, you know, he did everything because, you know, he was in the commercials. So, Yeah, I think I just have 4. I can tell you a lot I don't like. Well, I can tell you a lot of commentators I don't like. How about that?
Commentators you don't like?
Yeah.
The list in the chat, Katie says Samantha is #1 top fucking tier. AJ Hoover says Finkel, Samantha, Lillian, and Dave Pinzer from TNA. Tony Shamel, also a great honorable mention. So I think that's it. As we get into the commentators, guys, I feel like this one is a much broader stroke of a conversation. So as we do our lists, I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions as we go around the list. So Ted, again, I'm going to have you start. Who were some of your commentators when you put your list together of those 4 or 5 that just came to mind right off the rip for you?
Growing up with Georgia Championship Wrestling, my Jim Ross, to many of the Attitude Era people, was Gordon Soley. I mean, that was the voice I heard every Saturday night at 6:05 for Georgia Championship Wrestling. They had the Gordon Soley Award for Hall of Fame commentators. I mean, just what he did in Georgia and Florida, he was just the polished professional of the late 70s, early 80s. And Gordon just he holds a special place in my heart.
What's up, Alex? It's good to see you, bud. Mike, Adam Lee, Steve Mongo, McMichael, Todd Grisham. We'll circle back. My question for you, since you started Gordon Soley, my first thing in my commentary notes, first question, does it all stem from Gordon Soley? Because when you think about it, I was telling Bo earlier when we were talking about it, like, he was kind of the godfather for those voice of wrestling moments with Georgia Championship Wrestling from Florida. He was that like godfather of what we thought. Without him, we wouldn't have got our JRs or our Michael Coles or our Tony Schiavone's in a lot of ways. Does modern commentating all stem from Gordon Soley?
In my opinion, yes. He was just great, and just the way he did it. And then years later, you heard that he was a functional alcoholic and would do the job drunk, and I appreciate that in a man.
Bo, who's somebody off the top of your list for your commentators?
I'm going big. Joey Styles is on the very top. When I thought commentators, I thought, oh my God. And I like Joey Styles being able to hold down shows by himself. Like, not wanting a second man in the booth. And he's almost transitional because Joey Styles would do in-ring announcing too.
Alex supports you 100%. I agree with that. I just rewatched ECW. I think it was Heatwave 96 was the pay-per-view, but Joey Styles called the entire pay-per-view from beginning to end by himself in commentary. And as somebody who sat in the booth and had to call a wrestling show, it's hard to do with a partner, let alone completely by yourself to talk for hours. It's tough, man. I like it when I have you guys on because you guys make my job easy. Because my second question for commentators is Joey Styles, Mauro Ranallo. Do these guys get like a big bump up because stylistically the way they carried themselves, the way they called shows, the way they incorporated and told the stories, do these larger than life, over the top commentators deserve a special spot? Your Joey Styles, your Mauros. Like, I love that you guys are making it that easy on me. What do you guys think about these overly dramatic, big flamboyant style, like your color commentators?
I'm down for it. I'm totally down for it. I could listen to a Joey Styles match or Ronaldo match and never actually have to watch the match. Those guys paint pictures.
Mauro was awesome too. He helped to elevate a match, especially in NXT. Go ahead, Ted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, Joey Styles was, really great. And like I said, that flamboyant style. And, that's where I again go back to Jim Crockett Promotions, even though he wouldn't be on my Mount Rushmore, but still, you had Tony Schiavone as the straight man and David Crockett just going crazy. I still remember, and I don't even know who was wrestling and what the match was, but this phrase just, gets in my mind because he's sitting there and the heel was getting beat down by the baby face, and I don't even remember who it was, but he was like, whip him like a dog. I mean, just I love that every now and then. You need a little bit of that flamboyant style in there. So yeah, Joey Styles, he was a great one.
Knocking the next one off my list because you guys, like I said, y'all make it easy. Is good old Jim Ross. When you think about those voices of your generation, growing up early 90s WCW, Jim Ross. Going into mid-90s Attitude Era WWE, Jim Ross. You know what I mean? All the way through pretty much all the way up now to AEW and everything he's done with them. He's one of those guys that he had that Gordon Solie kind of approach to it where he could tell you a story and he would paint a picture. Mm-hmm. He had that old school color commentator and play-by-play approach that like an NFL announcer would do, where he would talk to you about the color of the gear and the way they work, and he would talk about like in directions, the far turnbuckle and stuff, and he would describe to you as if you were looking at the hard camera without having to see it, the way he described where they were in the match. And to me, that's important, and JR picked that up from Gordon. That's one of those like learning tree things. When I asked if it all stems from him, is because the modern way wrestling is called, everybody who does it, their tree funnels back to Gordon in some way or another, including Jim Ross. So he figured he had to be on everybody's list. So you guys got anything to say about old JR?
I love JR. I think he is like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an institution, I guess is the phrase you would say in wrestling commentary.
He's on a list no matter what because of who he is at this point, pretty much. Yeah.
He's been everywhere and done all the things. So, and he's a good human being at the end of the day.
Jim Ross, I mean, all I got to say about him is everything you said, plus Bill Watts once told me if you got an athletic big man, you can make a lot of money.
Bo, you got anything on JR?
I love JR, man. I love the cowboy. I love everything about JR. And he does really have good barbecue sauce. Just throw that out there.
Al, you want to knock one off your list?
My list is Renee, even though technically I guess she's not commentary.
She used to do. And Renee did do commentary for almost a solid year, if not longer, on Raw a few years ago. See, Katie's got your back.
I love Michael Cole and Corey Graves and Pat McAfee. Like, those are my like solid, and I know they're all new, like sue me. We can also talk about the ones I hate.
I've got a question for you guys in a second when it wraps back around to me. There's nothing wrong with your list. You have it is a very post PG 2000s list with Corey Graves, Michael Cole. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that list, though. Ted, I'm going to ask you a Michael Cole question before I get your next one off your list, because people are saying now Michael Cole is the GOAT. He's one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, right? So my question for you is, after listening to him talk for 25 years, 26 years, however long it's been now, has Michael Cole always been this good, or did it take him the better part of 3 decades to become the greatest of all time?
I don't know how to answer that because I don't think he's the greatest of all time. So
tell me the truth, then, brother. Tell me the truth, then. What do you think about Michael Cole?
He's not on my Mount Rushmore. He's not on my list. So I'm sorry. He's good, and it took him a while. I think the early years he was having to adjust to Vince in his ear constantly. And then he finally figured out the system on how to do it, and he has progressed, and he is great. Don't get me wrong, but nah, I mean, he's not on my list. He would be in my top 10 probably, but he's not in my Mount Rushmore but I mean, he's great and good, but I'm sorry. I've got other people that I've put ahead of him. So, sorry.
Jax, is Michael Cole on your list?
Michael Cole made my top 10, and it's more because of the fact that I grew up not liking Michael Cole. I despise Michael Cole. I hated everything about him. But when Pat McAfee came in, and Pat McAfee kindly got Michael Cole to unplug, I have grown to where I'm like, okay, man, he's paid his dues and stuff, and I think he's now found more of himself, and he's almost reaching that over dramatic level, but in a good way.
I love the banter between Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Pat McAfee. Like the three of them together is super funny.
Ted, do you want to rattle off a couple more off your list now that we've kind of got our number the big ones out?
Like I said, Gordon Soley, you got to put Jim Ross, and the voice of my childhood, and he may not be everybody's favorite, but I grew up on him with Jim Crockett, WCW, and now in AEW. I'm a big Tony Schiavone fan. I'm sorry, I just like Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone is the Bob Saget of wrestling. He was everybody's nice, gentle voice, and then when you hear him off air, he cusses worst sailor you've ever heard. I love Tony Schiavone, and then my other one would be Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, him and Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby was just great. He was a great manager. He was, great as a commentator. And then if I had a fifth one that I would throw in there, it would be Jesse the Body Ventura, who I don't think gets the love that he deserves at times. I guess I'm just old school, man.
I like every person you put on that list. One of my favorite tandems in wrestling is, and it kind of gets a lot of heat, is Macho Man and Vince coming in that early Raw days when they moved Macho to commentary. I thought Randy did a great job as a commentator because he had that charisma for it. I like I don't like to say old school picks, but at this point people have to, it is what it is for us, Ted. 80s and 90s are old school picks now. Bo, let's rattle a couple more off your list.
I got to mention Kevin Kelly.
Great
I love
pick.
Kevin Kelly's work.
Kevin Kelly's good.
He's been doing it for years. I also have Gorilla Monsoon.
Another good pick. That's up there with Ted with those old school picks. I like it.
And to me, someone that I've always loved because he was just funny, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yep.
Always a solid pick.
And then I have more, but those are my top ones.
Kind of the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ says Mike Tenay, Don West from TNA. Alex says best Michael Cole was with JBL around that 2007 range. What helped Cole for me is when Jerry Lawler had his heart attack. I think that Lawler was that glue in a lot of ways for a lot of those WWE commentary teams where they had him as that color where he could go in and there'd just be the comedy or the serious or whatever they needed. So whoever was doing the play-by-play work could just be that cool, calm, collected Jim Ross or Michael Cole. So I think that helped a lot. So Gordon Soley, Joey Styles, Mauro Ranallo, JR. I felt like Tony Schiavone got brought up. I felt like those guys. A big one for me, though, and I wrote about it for the day job, was Bobby the Brain and Larry Zbyszko in WCW. And here's why I liked them in Thunder, because what Bobby the Brain did and Zbyszko did, which was different from a lot of commentators at the time, they wouldn't hear in production the outcome of the matches.
Yeah.
They would intentionally not know, so that way you would get their raw live reaction to what was happening. You know what I mean? Like they had the general round idea for what was happening creative wise. They weren't naive, but the actual day-to-day finishes for the matches, they had no idea. So you were getting their raw reaction to it. So I loved that. So that's ultimately a big chunk of my list. You guys have talked about a lot of them. I'm going to peel the Band-Aid off here, and I'm going to ask you guys a question before I let Al finish hers out. And we start rounding third and coming home here. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, guys. Excalibur. Okay? You look at Excalibur, you look at the PWG, you look at these super indies, these guys with that key demo, that 18 to 28 or 36, demographic of the ratings that Ted says doesn't matter. Like, he's red hot right now. People love Excalibur. They think he's wild. Everything is just perfect for him. Where are you guys at with Excalibur, though, given the fact that we've all had great things to say about AEW in the past? So this isn't going to be a shit on AEW parade. But is he as terrible as I think he is?
I'll start. I like that he can pronounce stuff that I can't, and he knows moves that I don't. I really do like that. Because there's some of that stuff I don't know how to pronounce it, so that he can pronounce stuff, I do like that. And I think that when he gets older, if he wants to retire from wrestling, he can obviously go in as an auctioneer, because when he runs off that AEW card for Rampage, Collision, the pay-per-view, and every Battle of the Belts and Ring of Honor and everything else coming up in the next week, I do think he has a career as an auctioneer, and I like that he can do that. He sounds like one of those old preachers that never take a breath, that they put their hand up there and they say, and I'm going to tell you what, if you don't turn to Jesus, you're going to go to hell. He sounds like that. So I appreciate it.
I cannot stand the way that he says Ray Phoenix's name.
Phoenix.
I want to just punch my TV every time he says Ray Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix.
Phoenix. Bro. No.
I'm pretty sure he just makes up names.
He's also done some questionable things in the past.
Leave it to Al to be Captain Buzzkill with the cancel culture.
I'm just saying. But really, I don't like the sound of his fucking voice.
I have been known to yell at an AEW live show from time to time to take off the stupid fucking mask. But it's neither here nor there. I support AEW. I love AEW. I wear a scarf because they're world champion, for crying out loud. Like, I think they're doing some really good things in wrestling. I don't think Excalibur's one of them, though. I will give credit where Ted's where Ted's going, though, man. The dude is a walking fucking encyclopedia. He knows every move that's ever been done and how it's been done and who used it as a finish win. Like, he might be an idiot, but he's an idiot savant. He's like the Rain Man for wrestling.
Shut up.
You know whose else's voice I can't stand?
Who?
Wade Barrett.
Really?
Yeah.
Ola from On Top of a Ladder. Dad Hat, please be careful, man. Are you still at work at 9:30?
I don't normally I love a Scottish accent. But there's something about his that I just
doesn't do it for you?
Just doesn't do it for me.
Just not a Bad News Barrett person?
Like Drew McIntyre does it for me. Wade Barrett doesn't.
AJ says I can't stand current Booker, but I like Black Snow. I've got some write-ins from the chat as well. Morrow was a big one. Some people were talking about Taz and JBL. I'm here until 2 a.m., bro. 'Tis the season. Fuck that, man. I'm sorry, bud. We love you.
Yeah.
Well, he's English, not Scottish.
Well, you know what I mean, Katie.
The United Kingdom. JBL and Taz from Ryland from Wallop Media. He says that fuck JBL, but Taz was cool. Like The stuff he's done in AEW is so, but like he says that Taz was okay. What do you guys think about Taz on the mic in his WWE run, AEW run?
Oh, I like Taz.
You like
I think
Taz?
he slips up a lot. Like the one little nudge I'll give like to Excalibur, very small nudge, very tiny, is that when they used to do dark commentary, they used to like they'd slip up all the time.
Yeah.
And Taz would just like Excalibur would pronounce a move and he goes, only you would know that.
Yeah.
I think that Taz used nepotism to get his son on that roster in a title that's not real.
Nepotism, Ken.
Nepotism, Ken.
AJ says Taz and Josh Matthews in TNA. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Allison, but this is professional wrestling where nepotism is God. So let's just tone it back a little bit, okay? There's always nepotism, okay? Once I die, one of my children will take over my award-winning, critically acclaimed podcast, okay? It will be nepotism, okay? So let's just give it a break here, okay?
There will always be a Hillbilly Hill in
But look,
that's
always.
correct.
I believe in the quality of your children. I do not believe in the quality of Taz's child.
If you remove,
he's got good hair.
If you remove,
he's got good hair.
If you remove nepotism from wrestling, you would have no Jake Roberts entirely. Not to mention the McMahon family would be non-existent because Vince bought the company with $1 million he borrowed from his dad to buy his company from his dad. So make that one work in your brain.
Listen, Hook just sucks, and I blame Taz for it. It is what it is.
We made it through the list, guys. Do y'all have anything else on your commentators or ring announcers you want to touch on before we get ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, the other one that I would have loved to have moved up there because he was another part of my childhood. People do not recognize him. Young people out there in that 18 to 24 to 34, whatever that demographic is that watches this show, go back on your YouTube, find some Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and listen to some Bob Caudle. He is a soothing voice, and I love me some Bob Caudle, so I got to give a shout out to Bob Caudle.
I'm writing his name down now. I'm sure I've probably listened to him call a match for the amount of old-ass wrestling I've watched, but make sure I do. It's really just Hook because he's terrible, says Al. AJ brought up the Samoan dynasty. Without nepotism, the bloodline wouldn't be here.
Nepotism is fine, but like Taz's nepotism gave us Hook, and that's not fine.
Well, the good news is, guys, when you got good friends and you've got good conversation, it's always the easiest 90 minutes of your life. Ted, I'm going to let you start first. Again, I appreciate you for coming on, taking the time out of your busy schedule, shaking hands and kissing babies to come on Botch Spots for us. Again, tell everybody where to find you, plug your show, tell us what's going on, anything new or exciting you got coming up at the Hill Truth.
Yes, again, it was such a great honor and privilege and pleasure to be on Botch Shots and Chair Shots, part of the Rivet City Radio Network, where you can find many great shows. And I'm Ted the Hillbilly Hill, the Hill Truth Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, all that. I am not on social media because Twitter sucks. Facebook is of the devil. So I just don't even deal with it. But you can hit me up at hilltruthpodcast@gmail.com. And you can find us on YouTube now, where we have a great variety of shorts, and we are putting our episodes up on there now. So come over, check us out, and leave a 5-star review, subscribe, like, hit the notifications, and all that great stuff.
I love you, Ted. Bo?
Love you, Ted.
Yes. My turn. You can find me here every Sunday and Tuesday on Rivet City Radio for Botch, and Chair Shots and Nerdy News at 420. Find me Mondays on Off the Top for Sorry for the Interruption, and NXT on Taps on Tuesdays over there. Anywhere else you'd like to find me, I do use social media, and I'm trying to grow my X/Twitter following, so follow me at JacksBo2020.
Al.
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at justagirl918. I know everybody's really sad about like there not being a real Ryback moment this week, but like for real, guys, like he wasn't really that crazy this week. I was kind of disappointed when I was going through his stuff and like it just really wasn't anything like. Yeah, he thinks he's better than Roman Reigns. That's about the craziest thing. But like, yeah, no, he didn't really do anything super crazy this week.
It's not even worth talking about because we all know that's fucking crazy.
Right. I'm sorry to disappoint. Like, maybe he'll be crazier next week.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. As always, no free shout outs, but I think you should go follow my friends. Ted's setting here. I always say follow Wrestling with the Truth and Ted the Hillbilly Hill, but since he's here and already done it, follow Wrestling with the Truth, BC Hunter and those guys. Love them. Follow Creation World, MATTRIDDER, Matt Ritter, Lord Cusselet, Travis Pointer, Marta Shark Watkins, Katie Kinsey Bebe, all those guys over there. Follow Katie at She Elite Showcase. Follow the Wrestle Talk, Wolfpack, and Off the Top Media. Follow all my friends. If you're one of the people who want to get on Discord, click all the links in the descriptions. Discord takes you to the producers and the hosts and everything off the top. angrylemonade.com/bots watch and chair shots is all that sweet botch bots and chair shots merch. Most importantly, patreon.com/Rivet City Radio is how we keep the lights on. You get all that sweet ad-free shows. And with your Prime subscription, you get a Prime gaming subscription through Twitch. Give us that subscription. Give it to the Wolfpack. Give it to Creation World. Give it to anybody as long as Jeff Bezos doesn't get it. He's got too much money. That's it, guys. We made it. You found one? You want to say real quick?
I did find one. So Ryback didn't do his show this week, and I didn't really I couldn't find a reason why until I just found it. No Ryback show this week. Elon Musk and Linda X. I don't know. It's disgusting. You keep my account of 1.35 million followers permanently suppressed and only have 5 people watching my show with very few impressions. The fact you publicly ignore this while admitting my account stays suppressed through your support is going to work against you. I want this made right. So he thinks that Twitter, he's been on this for such a long time, that Vince McMahon and Elon Musk are suppressing his Twitter. And he has like all this proof and all this yada, yada, yada. But yeah, so he said earlier today, Elon Musk tweeted that they were working on improving like customer support. And Ryback quote tweeted and said, "What about fixing my account of 7.5 years of corrupt restriction and suppression?" And like he's constantly trying to find like people on Twitter to fix his account.
Well, I would believe that Vince is behind it because we know that Ryback does not like CM Punk, and that was part of the deal that CM Punk asked for to go back to WWE during Survivor Series.
Yep. Ryback is keeping CM Phil out.
Yeah.
No, just nobody wants CM Phil. Like even the most toxic of toxic places don't want CM Phil.
All right, guys. I'm going to do the thing.
Do the thing now.
Y'all ready? Now, as we close another episode of Watch, Pause, and Share Shots, segment, thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet. Like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm and helps find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous to be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Rivet City Radio Podcast Network. You get some fantastic swag. We get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win. For my boy, the Ginger Ninja Jaxbo, for Ted the Hillbilly Hill from the Hill Truth Podcast, the #1 podcast in Antarctica, and the Boss Bitch Owl, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.
So long.